From characters who get tragically killed after only a month of existing to those who are so ancient they're even older than the universe itself, anime characters truly come in all shapes, sizes, and ages. So today we're looking throughout all of anime history to find the very youngest and the very oldest characters that I can find. And for the first one, wow, I mean, they were the smallest, they were the slowest, but not only that, they're also the youngest out of all anime characters out there. Cells at Work's characters just keep starting off the very bottom of these lists. But I guess that's exactly what you get for being some microscopic level cells. Everything in this anime is just a lot tinier by just about every metric imaginable, so the platelet cells of Cells at Work have the same life expectancy as real human platelet cells, only surviving 7 to 10 days before they're then replenished by new ones. Meaning that our main characters here are probably only a couple of days old. But the next character might be pretty unexpected actually, because he's definitely a lot bigger, stronger, and smarter than just a single cell, though he kind of looks like a cell, which is Meruem, the Chimera Ant King from Hunter x Hunter. Wow, they just grow up so fast. Now, even though he leads a rich life filled with plenty of games of Gungi, Meruem was actually only about 40 days old when he then died from the radiation of the miniature rose bomb. And just beating out Meruem is yet another super young character, a literal baby. Kaiser de Imperana Beelzebub IV, better known as Baby Beal, is the start of Beelzebub. As a demon infant, he's actually sent to the human world to annihilate the entire human race. But hey, I mean, who can stay mad at a face like that? He's just so adorable that I just let him go ahead and destroy all of humanity if that's what this little cute guy wants. Isn't that right? And closely matching Baby Beal at 2 years old is this tiny tot right here, reborn from Hitman Reborn. This mafioso is very accomplished for his young age though, being the world's strongest hitman. But for being such a powerful assassin, what's even more surprising is that he's an excellent teacher and has a master's degree in mathematics somehow as well. Now, of course, that makes a lot of sense since his baby form is the result of a curse that turned him into a baby. But next up, solidly in toddler territory, we get Anya Forger, the adorable mind reader from Spy Family. Now, she's probably around 4 years old, though she does lie and says that she's a bit older so that her adoptive daddy Lloyd Forger will be able to have her apply to Eden Academy, who kind of only takes 6-year-olds. And yet another really studious child is Gohan from Dragon Ball. Well, he's actually a lot better at school than Anya Forger. He takes more after his mom that way, but not so much when we first meet him at 5 years old when his dad Goku is killed right in front of him, and then his new dad Piccolo takes him for the worst camping trip of all time for some, we'll say, hands-on training. Then at 6 years old, we have Happy, the winged cat mascot from Fairy Tail. Now, Happy belongs to a cat-like race of beings called the Exceed. This staple of Team Natsu, if nothing else, ensured endless marketing opportunities and a lot of merch sales. But objectively, the smartest child around has gotta be Conan Edogawa from Case Closed. Mainly because this 6-year-old child is actually the genius teen detective Shinichi Kudo, who's been transformed into a child's body. And ever since, he's been searching for a way to turn his body back into his normal self, and somehow still hasn't solved that very case despite 30 years of publication. But next up, we have an 8-year-old whose intellect may even give Conan a run for his money. Professor Shinonome, also known as Hakase, the Japanese word for professor from Nichijo, is a super scientist despite her young age. However, this definitely does not stop her from acting like a really spoiled little kid despite her excellent inventions. And we're just gonna keep going with the 2-year intervals here because next is Ash Ketchum at 10 years old. And he has always been 10, which seems weird because he was 10 for like 25 years straight. That kind of seems like cheating to me, but until the Pokemon franchise decides to finally be honest with itself and reveal that Ash is actually in his mid-30s, I guess that he gets to keep his 10-year-old spot on this list. But now to our next, wait a minute, this can't be right. Chopper is 17 years old? I always thought that this reindeer was a little kid, and now you're telling me that he's about to be a legal adult soon? Chopper is gonna be able to vote in the next election. He's about to play the lottery. I mean, you could have really fooled me here, Chopper. I guess reindeers just age more gracefully. And actually, to bridge that gap between young and old, here's somebody who's solidly an adult at 27 years of age. Cowboy Bebop's Spike Spiegel, the anime character who completely embodies the word cool. Okay, but with that out of the way, I know why you're really here. You didn't come for adults, you want to see some old people in this video. And the distinction of the youngest of the old guys on this list is Charles Z. Britannia. Okay, apparently he's only 63 years old. I kind of always assumed that he seemed a lot older, but I guess the combination of a lot of stress from being the ruler of the whole world plus the powdered wig really isn't doing him any favors there. And actually, Gran Torino here from My Hero Academia is also in his mid-60s. And we don't have his exact age, but this jet-boosted little guy is probably a little bit older than Charles, and with all of the heroics that he's done throughout his life, he's certainly earned his time in retirement, I think. On the other hand, the next character on this list has elected not to retire because he's still putting in the work, very much so. Xeno Zoldyck, everyone's favorite assassin slash grandpa. And when he's not out stomping on little ants or spoiling his favorite grandson Killua, he's kidding butt and taking names. And for Zoldyck, he's really not such a bad guy, really respecting innocence and only killing when his contract calls for it. And just a couple of years older than Granny Pappy Zoldyck is the third Hokage from Naruto, Hiruzen Sarutobi. And let me tell you, this guy also loves to spoil his grandson Konohamaru. If only he could have given the orphan Naruto that kind of attention as well. I mean, the Hidden Leaf Village really could have spared themselves some real trouble that way as well. And at this point, it's starting to become a little bit of an old boys club, so let's shake things up with a really old lady instead. Because you know, not all cool mentors have to be guys, and that's exactly what Genkai from Yu Yu Hakusho taught us as well. Now, Genkai doesn't really have a confirmed fixed age, but our best estimates put her at about 70 plus years old, meaning that Yusuke's teacher is solidly older than all of those old men who have come before. But of course, she is not older than the fabled old man of One Piece, starting with the terminally ill and then terminally dead Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard. Widely known as the world's strongest man, this user of the Quaquate fruit is one of the most badass old men in all of anime, but he's not quite as old as Luffy's grandpa or Luffy's mentor, Monkey D. Garp or Sylvus Rayleigh, both of whom are actually 78 years old. And hey, please don't blame me for including so many One Piece characters here, because it's not my fault that Oda made more awesome old man characters than you can possibly shake your stick at. However, this superhero here is even older than some of One Piece's oldest men. Bang, aka Silverfang from One Punch Man, is one of the strongest S-class heroes in the series and is one of the greatest martial arts masters in the entire world. He's also a pretty accomplished teacher, always searching for disciples who he can pass his own knowledge on to. It's just a shame that one of those disciples turned super evil and killed all the others. And actually, speaking of characters with a really suspiciously high kill count, the ghost of the Uchiha clan, Madara Uchiha, is 90 years old. I mean, technically he does cheat with his age a little bit, since the 90 years old counts all the time that he spent in hiding and all the time spent dead before being resurrected, but will still count you on this list because, well, technically you were alive again at the point that you were 90 years old. On the other hand, Makarov Dreyer took no loopholes on the way to his ripe age of 96. This dude is just old, straight up. This guildmaster from the Fairy Tail Guild is a master magician who's more than earned the right to lead his companions. In fact, turns out that he was such a good guildmaster that he was the third one, the sixth one, and then the eighth one as well. And then let me just say, dang dude, I mean, Isaac Netero was looking good for 120 years old. He is really embodying the anime trope of the super buff old man. I mean, shame though that he got killed by a character who was only 40 days old though. Is this one of the biggest differences in age in any anime battle ever? Actually, I do have a feeling that the age gaps are gonna get even crazier here pretty soon, but Netero's got nothing on Dr. Kureha, Chopper's mentor from One Piece. Yeah, I know, it is One Piece again, I get it. I'm the One Piece guy, but you tell me with a straight face to make a list about the oldest characters in anime and not include this 100 41-year-old legend over here. And also, let me just warn you right now that this isn't gonna be the last One Piece character either, so buckle up for that. But Kureha isn't the only character who's looking really good for her really advanced age, because this is older than any human in human history has officially ever gotten. There's also Sebastian Michaels from Black Butler. Now, of course, his secret isn't his great medical knowledge. The fact that he's a demon keeps him looking permanently very youthful. Now, his exact age is still unknown, but clues in the series do suggest that Sebastian could be anywhere between 160 and even up to 660 years old. But while Sebastian is a demon who looks youthful and handsome, this next character looks a whole lot more demonic. Zod from Berserk is an apostle who's over 300 years old. In case you don't know, an apostle is a former human who has been transformed into a demon, and in Zod's case, he spent centuries slaughtering the masses in search for powerful opponents before eventually serving Griffith as one of his strongest subjects. And then, is there a more iconic old man mentor figure in all of anime? I mean, Master Roshi, aka the Turtle Hermit, is the teacher of Goku and Krillin in the original Dragon Ball series, and he even originated the iconic Kamehameha wave, one of the most recognizable attacks in anime ever. Now, he's most likely somewhere between 340 to 350 years old, since he was 300 at the time of the original Dragon Ball. It's just a bit of a shame that instead of being remembered as one of Earth's greatest martial artists, he somewhat soured his own reputation by being a really filthy old pervert. Now, of course, not all old characters look like it. You can tell that Master Roshi is up there in his years, but that's not the case for Seeker? Swallowtail from Black Clover. Mostly because she usually just looks like a bird, I guess, but even in her human form, she sure does not look like she's over 500 years old, right? Now, by using her forbidden sealing magic, her life was actually greatly extended while she was trapped in her bird form. But now she's fully back, unsealed and unbothered, and ready to fight alongside the remaining Black Bulls. And yet another character who definitely does not look his own age is Alucard from Hellsing. You see, in reality, this vampire is 598, but since he was turned into a vampire in his early 20s, he's had the appearance of a young man for literal centuries now. Let me tell you, our next entry is gonna blast past centuries for a whole new level of old, because I'm finally getting to characters that are absolutely ancient. We're talking about 1,000 years or older. That's right, these characters have been walking around for an entire millennium, or well, I guess that's not entirely accurate for Sukuna here, because the King of Curses from Jujutsu Kaisen has spent most of that time in finger form waiting for his eventual resurrection. However, the gap between the Heian era when he first lived and the modern time today is actually over 1,000 years, so Sukuna still gets to hang here with these super old characters, officially at least. And actually turns out our next character also hails from Japan's Heian era as well, a time period that spanned from around 794 to 1185 AD. Yato, one of the main characters from one of my all-time favorite shows, Noragami, is a god of calamity, which explains his crazy long lifespan. But gods, of course, aren't the only characters who've lived a mighty long time, because there's also elves, such as the case with Frieren, for example, the title character from Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Now, this elf has had the displeasure of living so long that all of her non-elf friends have at this point all slowly withered and died around her, all while she herself still maintains the appearance of a young woman. But of course, there's plenty more than just gods and elves who live a long time too, because there's also, you guessed it, demons. And Demon Slayer's #1 demon has lived over 1,000 years as well, the big boss himself, Michael Jackson. Oh, wait, let me get my notes straight here. Sorry, I meant to say Kibutsuji Muzan. I always get those two smooth criminals mixed up somehow. I don't know why that could be the case. But yet another creep who's been around a very long time is actually Black Zetsu from Naruto. Because for well over a millennium, he has also been lurking in the shadows, influencing history on behalf of his master Kaguya, the secret, totally not coming out of nowhere, final boss of Naruto. And then this One Piece character our last one, I do promise, has been around just as long, but instead of influencing history, he's just kind of wandering around, cursed to walk the sea forever until a predestined moment in history when he'll finally be set free. It's Zunisha, the absolutely massive 35-kilometer tall elephant who literally carries an entire civilization on its very back. But doubling Zunisha's age and getting us to over 2,000 years old now is Joseph, the main villain from Ancient Magus Brides. Now, thanks to becoming a sorcerer by merging with the ancient being called Cartophilus, Joseph lost his sanity and his moral compass, resulting in millennia of horrid evil actions, including, but not limited to, animal cruelty, blackmail, kidnapping, mutilation, and of course, mass murder. But let's be honest, by far the hottest old man on this list has gotta be Yamamoto Genryusai, the head Soul Reaper captain from Bleach. And that was actually very literal because he has the most powerful fire type Sanpakuto in all of the series. That's because the residents of Soul Society have extremely long lifespans compared to humans, which leads to Captain Yamamoto here living for over 2,100 years and being the captain commander for well over 1,000 of those. But then again, this ancient looking Soul Reaper has nothing on this child? Well, turns out that despite his really youthful looks, Melodius from the Seven Deadly Sins is actually well over 3,000 years old himself. You see, in reality, he's a son of the Demon King, and after he betrayed his own family, he was cursed with immortality, which prevents him from ever aging. And then, of course, also cheating somewhat, Dr. Stone Senku also earns himself a spot on this list, being well over 3,700 years old. Now, he was frozen for over 3 millennia while the other people of Earth were also being petrified, but unlike many other characters on this list who were put in a form of stasis for a long time, Senku here actually remained completely conscious and somehow sane the entire time, counting each single second that elapsed for the entire time as well. I don't know, I haven't experienced it, but it sounds kind of boring to me, but good on him for using that big brain to maintain his focus. But now doubling things up to 6,407 years old, which is a very specific age, is Jibril from No Game No Life. As a member of the Flugel race, she's an ancient and angelic being who ends up becoming a servant to Shiro and Sora, the main characters of the series. However, she was created by a being far more ancient than herself, but before we get to that, coming in at 11,000 years is Kaname Kudan from Vampire Knight. It actually turns out that the head of the Kudan family here was one of the progenitors of the vampire race. Since he's an immortal vampire, his lifespan is theoretically limitless, allowing him to basically live forever. But 10,000? That's kind of pathetic, honestly. How about we take 10 times that for our next character? We're talking about Cars, the final villain of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2, who is one of the Pillar Men, ancient humanoid beings who were frozen inside of stone pillars for millennia before awakening to ruin Joseph Joestar's day. And I gotta say that at 102,000 years old, Cars is pretty ancient. And you hopefully remember that just a moment ago I mentioned Jibril from No Game No Life, but the god of war Artosh, who actually created Jibril and the rest of the Flugel race, is far older than his creations. His age goes down as an insane at least 150,000 years old. I mean, surely this deity must be the oldest anime character of all time, right? Okay, you got me. I definitely spoke too soon here, because it says here in my notes that the next character on the list is 3,402,822,311 years old. What an oddly specific number. Let's just agree that Najimi Ajimu is the definitive oldest character in anime and also the most powerful character in the series Medaka Box. And that's especially insane considering that our universe itself is only estimated to be approximately 13 9,798,000,000 years old, making Najimi Ajimu older than the universe itself by over 200 times. And now you could of course say age is one thing, but what about characters like this who are so massive that they can't even fit inside of our universe as well? Well, for a scale of anime characters from the tiniest to the incomprehensibly huge ones, you'll want to head over to this video right here where I talk about the biggest characters in all of anime. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. We have a lot of other videos like these on the channel. Please go scroll through, check them out while you're eating, and I will hopefully see you in this next one.